Coming up on Forward Focus, we're joined by Dr. Mark Bedell, our superintendent. Hello, and welcome to Forward Focus, an AACPS program where we focus on the work to create a school system where everyone can belong, grow, and succeed. I'm Shannon, Pugh, the Director of Strategic Initiatives. And joining us today as our very first guest is our own superintendent, Dr. Mark Bedell. Welcome, Dr. Bedell.
Well, thank you, Dr. Pugh. Excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you here. So we want to focus today on the strategic plan. So when you first came to AACPS, you prioritized us having a strategic plan, getting one off and running with all the work. So would you tell the audience, first of all, what is a strategic plan for a school system and why is it important for our work?
Well, a strategic plan generally allows for us to develop a framework in terms of how we plan to advance the school system as a whole over the next 5 years. They're generally built to survive 5 years. When I started, we started off with an entry plan. And then the entry plan gave us critical information that we then was able to utilize to build a post-entry plan. That post-entry plan would then become the foundation for how we would ultimately put together a strategic plan. But it really does give us the framework for the work that needs to be done in a much more targeted manner over the next 5 years.
So it sounds like it wasn't quick, you just showed up and we're making a strategic plan. So it was very deliberate, a slow process.
Took a year. Generally, to build what I think is a strong, easy to follow strategic plan, usually most superintendents would take that second year and use that time to build it out, because year one is really about your entry plan and your post-entry plan. Year two is now I have all of the data that I need to engage around what should the priorities be in a strategic plan based on what data trends are telling us. And so we used the second year to build it, and now we're in the beginning of implementation.
And I know the work of the strategic plan, you were very intentional of this being a community-led strategic plan. Can you talk us through why that's important?
Yeah, so when I went through the first 16 listening and learning tours, one of the things I said to the community is that a strategic plan must be built by the community. It cannot be a plan that is superintendent-led or administratively led, because what generally happens is you don't get buy-in. And also, we understand in this country that the average tenure of a superintendent is probably at this point around 3 years. It once used to be 3.2. So what you don't want to do is have a strategic plan that's solely dependent on a leader, that when that leader is no longer around, that the strategic plan dies. We want strategic plans to be community driven, because it's community buy-in and the plan can continue to live. And so again, I'm in my third year, so it looks like I feel like I should surpass that 3-year tenure that we're experiencing around the country and be able to stay here to see it all the way through.
Awesome. And the heart of any school system's work is, of course, academics. So as I'm looking through the strategic plan, I'm drawn to language that in the plan, it doesn't just say that students will meet, it says they'll exceed. It doesn't just say they'll be on grade level, it says they'll be above grade level. Why are those words so important to our work here in AACPS?
Because I believe you need to have a plan that is very aspirational in nature, that speaks to this community from a resiliency lens. And if you don't aspire to have all of our kids thrive, then I think we fall short of really serving our students at a high level. So our language really does come from this position of it being from a resiliency lens around what can be done and not a can't do mentality. I also just simply believe that academic excellence, which is what we've titled it, is the main reason why we're here. So there needs to be growth across the board. And I've said this over and over. I'm not the type of superintendent that's interested in stifling the top in order to say that we're closing gaps. When you look at our data over the last 2 years, we've not only moved at the top, but we are closing gaps. And so everybody in the county is winning as a result of this focus, that it should be aspirational that everybody gets to that 100% mark. Like, we want 100% of our kids to be proficient at minimum in everything that they do, and then exceed what the targeted goals are for them from a growth standpoint.
In addition to academics, what I'm also drawn to the plan that the community created focuses on investing in our staff. And as I look at strategic plans throughout the country, we don't always see that there's a lot of investment in the adults in the system. So, how did you feel when you saw that came from the stakeholders, and what does that mean?
Well, our stakeholders also felt the impact of not having enough qualified employees in the organization.
Yeah.
They felt it from transportation, they felt it from food services, they felt it from the number of substitutes that we've had in classrooms, because right now, teaching or certified teachers comes at a premium.
Yeah.
There's just not enough people choosing education as a major anymore. And then you think about what happened with COVID and how that spurred the exodus of a number of certified educators, probably to the tune of 1 million over the past 2 or 3 years. School districts felt that, and parents felt that. And so, what I was extremely excited about is that this community genuinely cares about the well being of faculty and staff, and that we also know we have to take care of our people. We have to take care of them socially and emotionally, just like we want our kids to be taken care of. But we also have to make sure that we're treating them well, making sure that work conditions are tolerable, making sure that they're compensated at a proper rate that's competitive against other school districts. And so that strategic plan is going to force us to stay true to that, because that will be a part of how we keep a scorecard on how we're retaining people, and then also recruiting people.
And I love how you mentioned all the different adults that we need to make a school system function and to support our students. I know people typically think about the teachers, but if a custodian wasn't there to make a building and a pleasing place for kids the next day, it impacts everybody, right? And if I don't have one serve me breakfast, it impacts all that.
Well, it's so true. And that is a reason why when I go and visit schools, I make sure that I go check on our custodians, our leaders over the facilities. I always try to go into the cafeteria to check on our food service employees, because generally what happens is most people will come into the schools, and I've seen this even as an educator. They're coming in to check on teachers and the administrators, but there's a lot more to our schools than just administrators and educators that make the school run in a successful way.
And I just remember as a first year teacher being told the two most important people in the school, the secretary and the custodian. You have to know them, they have to know you. And I think that just
So
speaks
true.
to that. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
I tell people that most of the time I would argue, and some people say, well, why are you saying this and recording it? But your assistants, your secretaries, your executive, administrative assistants, you're right. They are the ones that kind of run everything, because they're keeping you together, as a leader. They're keeping that school together, because they do a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of problem solving, but they also are the ones that have to communicate in advance, and also have to help people that may have anxiety about a negative experience take that from 100 down to 50 or to 0. So they play a huge pivotal role in the work that happens in our organizational departments.
Absolutely. Um, the strategic plan officially started on July 1st. What work is happening now to actualize that, and what have you seen so far in schools related to our strategic plan?
What I've been excited about, and I've done this superintendent work now, this is year 9. I'm not certain that I've ever had a strategic plan penetrate through the organization as fast as ours has. Belong, Grow, and Succeed has become a tagline across this county. We have students who now, when they are speaking in public board meetings, they refer to the strategic plan. And when you have a strategic plan penetrate all the way through to students, that's when I believe we have something here. It's only 14 pages, so it's easy to follow. And it does align with us trying to be as efficient as we can be as a school system, just like we've done with our new curriculums, Reveal and our new amplified curriculum. We have made sure that we try to make things much more efficient, much more easier to navigate. Our strategic plan does that. And so as we are implementing it in the early phases, I'm proud to say that I feel good about how it is playing out. I think I've visited probably about 41 to 42 schools already in the first 4 weeks of the school year. I'll be in 3 more tomorrow. But we do plan to put together a video of what we've been seeing across the county with how schools are embracing this belong, grow, and succeed tagline, which we did not tell people to do.
Yeah.
These are schools taking it on their own.
And I think that just shows to the people accepting and being excited about having a very structured focus as we move forward.
Well, think about it. It's only 14 pages.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've had a strategic plan that was 301 pages that I inherited in my previous district. And then I was like, nobody's going to do anything. You can't have a strategic plan that's going to focus on being everything to everybody, which means you're not going to be able to get much of anything done for anybody, right? And so 14 pages allows for it to be easily digestible. It's very targeted, and it's much smaller even than the one that we built in Kansas City, which I thought was amazing, which was 39 pages or 40 pages.
Yeah. So one thing that you have said to everyone in our system, in our community, is how transparent you want to be. And you've said the good, the bad, the ugly. So as we think about a strategic plan, we know there's a scorecard being developed as we speak, so we'll be able to measure it. But, and I know it's hard to predict, but in 5 years, what would be your ultimate hope that the strategic plan has helped us do?
I hope the strategic plan would have allowed for us to move into being a top 5 school district across all measurable outcomes that people look at from a social, emotional, and academic standpoint. That includes criterion referenced assessments, which are state level assessments, but also the norm reference assessments, whether it is NAEP, whether it is AP, IB, dual credit, all of those types of assessments. We want to be a school district that is viewed as a very high performing school district across the board. And if we do these things right, there's adult behaviors that need to take place in this strategic plan in order for those the characteristics that we want in a student to take place. Then if we do our part right, our kids are going to graduate and they're going to be globally competitive. They're going to be ready to thrive, and they're going to graduate from a school district that they're very proud of, that truly had them in mind. So I'm really excited, and I think the scorecard will take us there, because the ultimate goal of the scorecard is to just have accountability. Are we doing what we said we were going to do in the strategic plan? Can the community go to a data dashboard and see and track progress year over year? Are we trending in the right direction, and are those trends consistent? Because what I don't want is for us to be volatile. We're up 1 year, down, up 1 year. What people want is consistency.
Yeah.
And I hope that by implementing this strategic plan and having that scorecard as an accountability mechanism, that we'll be able to show that.
That's awesome. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us today. We so appreciate you sharing with us about the strategic plan. So it has been a privilege, as always. But please stay tuned. After the break, we are joined by Mr. Joe Callahan, our new Executive Director of the Education Foundation of Anne Arundel County. Welcome back to Forward Focus. We're excited to welcome our next guest, Mr. Joe Callahan, the Executive Director of the Education Foundation of Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So glad that you're here. So you have only been with Anne Arundel, with the school system, for just a few months. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey, your professional journey, and how you ended up here in AACPS?
Sure. Yeah. So it started, I grew up in outside of Boston,
Uh-huh.
and I came to the Washington D.C. area to go to college, and then so I was there for about 20 years,
Okay.
and I studied international affairs. Always thought I'd go into the foreign service, do
Ah,
that, but
nice.
right after college, I started working for a public policy institute at Johns Hopkins University in
Uh-huh.
their DC campus. And that kind of shifted the way and the direction of my life because at that time, I was able to go to school for free. I got my
Uh-huh.
master's degree in writing, and that really shifted how I thought my life would go.
Uh-huh.
And so after finishing my master's, I started teaching. I taught at GW, George Washington University and American University, and I taught writing. I was an
Mm-hmm.
adjunct professor. And that's where I really developed a love for teaching
Uh-huh.
and literacy. And from there, I decided I didn't want to work with 18-year-old kids anymore. I wanted to work with younger kids, and I had started volunteering for this literacy nonprofit
Uh-huh.
that was fully volunteer run, and I ended up becoming the founding executive director.
Okay.
So because I had a background in writing and fundraising and nonprofit management, it made sense. It was a
Uh-huh.
really great fit for me. And as the founding ED, I helped grow and scale the organization to serve 5,000 DC public school students
Oh.
a year in after school and in school programming. Um, and then from there, I went to a charter school network
Uh-huh.
that we had worked closely with in
Mm-hmm.
the organization that I was running, called E.L. Haynes Public Charter School. There's about 2,000 students from pre-K 3 to 12th grade. Um, and I spent 7 years there, first as the head of communications and fundraising, and then as the chief of staff. Um, and then my family moved out to Anne Arundel County about almost 2 years ago, and I became an AACPS parent.
Yes.
And so I have a rising, or now current fifth grader,
Uh-huh.
and that then led to me starting to look for a job out here in the
Uh-huh.
county because I was getting sick of my commute to DC because it was a long time. And so I have a fifth grader and now soon to be kindergartner
Oh.
next year. And so when I saw the opening for the foundation, it felt like a perfect fit to go back to leading organization, helping build it, and raising and bringing money to help support students, which is what I love to do.
And I love all that background and that experience that you bring to this position. So, in this position, you're the executive director of the Education Foundation of Anne Arundel County Public Schools. So, you tell us a little bit about the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
What does it do? Do all districts have foundations? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So many districts do. I can't speak to all districts, but many do. And the foundation is designed to bring to bear the resources of the community to support the public school system. Our goal is always to help make sure that every student in the county has access to an exemplary educational opportunities. And that could be out of school time programming, it could be wellness supports, it could be whatever those students need, but it is about making sure all students have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's then about bridging the gap between what we're able to fund through taxpayer dollars with the resources and philanthropic dollars of the community. So, what are those priorities? How do we fund them? How do we make that work? And so, historically, the foundation has provided grants to schools, run scholarship programs. We do a plethora of things that really help support teachers, students, schools.
So that's what we've done in the past. So, can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit more about what the foundation has historically done versus what the vision might be as we move forward?
Sure. So we were founded in the mid to late 90s. We've
Okay.
been around for a long time. And historically, we have provided grants to schools. So if a principal or a teacher was interested in doing something special or needed some extra support for their classroom, they would reach out and apply, and we would send them, $500, $1,000, whatever they really needed. Certain offices in central office might need something to do something special, and it's been really one-off, which has worked, over this past time. I have become the first full-time executive director of the foundation. So the goal is to really professionalize the foundation in a way that it puts us in similar places as many other education foundations around the
Mm-hmm.
country. And what is my vision for the foundation is uniquely tied to Dr. Bedell's vision in the strategic plan, as well as in the Maryland Blueprint, is what are our big goals? What are the big things we're trying to do across the county that we can help raise money to support these big initiatives, not just one classroom, one school, but county-wide initiatives? And how can we bring the community around that excitement and that important, innovative, and large-scale work?
Uh-huh. So you say we a lot.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit more about who's in the foundation. How's it structured?
Sure.
How does all that work?
So we have two staff members, so
Big
small but mighty, and then a board of 14. So
Okay.
right now, a volunteer board of about 14 that we could grow to be up to 24. And so the members of the board are members from the community, members of business, longtime supporters, and I always like to use a global we because, it's not just the foundation, it's also how we represent the, more than 80,000 students of Anne Arundel County Public Schools, the thousands of staff members. It is a big global we, and that's who we're working toward and working for. And so the foundation, 14 board members, they come from all across the county, and we all work together to help raise resources for the school system. That is our goal.
And I think that's really important because the foundation is not funded through taxpayer dollars. Yeah. How is the foundation funded specifically?
Sure. So we receive, generous donations from local companies, national companies, foundations, individuals. Like any other nonprofit, we have to raise the money to support the foundation as well as all of our programs. So we are always out there pounding the pavement, trying to help support our work and support students.
So you mentioned both local and national contributions to that. Do we know, or I'm sure we do know, what is that split right now, and do you envision that changing?
The split is mostly local, okay. I would say. And I think as we look to really expand our impact and increase the scale of our impact, we'll have to look to more national funders. And I think that will be the key part of how our strategic plan and the blueprint kind of outline those needs, because those priorities are national priorities in many ways. So there are huge funders out there that want to support expanding pre-K and early childhood. And I think that is a huge opportunity for us to tap into those national resources. And I think that is only one small example in the kind of strategic plan and the blueprint that will help, help serve the students of Anne Arundel County and drive student performance.
And I like how you said that some people might want to support very specific things, whereas others might just, here you go, we're just interested in whatever you can do for the students in Anne Arundel County.
Yeah, and there's absolutely a mix. And I think, and everybody has their own priorities. And so, just like you do, or I do, when we make, philanthropic contributions. And we always need what's called unrestricted or general operation dollars to help support the ongoing work of the foundation and allow us to be flexible, especially as we look to grow. And I think, but there's also always restricted dollars, especially folks who have a very specific passion or just, very specific giving priority.
So if somebody is watching and they want to become involved in the foundation, either they own a business or a foundation or an individual, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they can visit aacpsfoundation.org to learn more. That's our website. Or they can contact me at any point. My phone is always open, or my email. And so that would be the easiest way to really just get a quick snapshot about what we do, who we are, how we do the work we do. And what I would like to say is it's a big tent. We're more than willing to work with anyone who wants to support the
Mhm.
school system and find the way that's right for them. It might be here's a check. It might be like I want to try and get involved with my neighborhood school. How do I do
Okay.
that? And we can help connect them in some way. Um, because the big question is how,
Yeah.
and I can help answer that. And
And I think that happens a lot with community members and public education is they want to do something. They
mhm,
just don't know what to do. They could be
yeah,
retired or
yeah.
no longer have children in the school system or something, and they just have the, what can I do? How can I
Mhm.
help?
And I think that is the beauty of having such a large and diverse school system
Hmm.
is there's so many different ways, and it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
So it's about building meaningful relationships with people that
Uh-huh.
want to help kids and help schools, and that's what we do.
And I know a lot of employees in Anne
Hmm.
Arundel County Public Schools also contribute
Hmm.
to the school system. So I think
Yes.
that says something that
Yeah, it's
we're,
one of our largest blocks of contributors.
uh-huh.
It makes up a very, very large percentage of our individual donors. And when I took this role almost 3 months ago, it was one of the things that told me this was a great place to be. And there was
Yeah.
so much opportunity there. And when there are that number of staff that are willing to contribute, you know it's meaningful. You know it's doing great work. And it's an exciting place to be. And there's so much opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today to share a little bit more information about our foundation. So, if you are interested in contributing or learning more about the foundation, please go to the website. But thank you again for coming and spending some time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So that's it for this edition of Forward Focus. Please join us next time.